Make your choices according to how you're feeling.
What's going on in your head?
How can you be extra kind to yourself? The same things as usual may be helpful. If you have a stretchy band, a stretchy band. If you have blocks. A cushion is always nice, I think. I'm really psyched to be practicing with you all today. When you're practicing today, like how can you alter the movement that we're doing or really focus on parts of the movements that we're doing in a way that will make these movements feel like something your body appreciates, not like something your body is fighting, but like something your body is like, yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be doing this. So just maybe give that a thought as you're moving today. And we're going to start down on our backs. So make your way down onto your mat.
And once you're lying down, you might just take a minute to ask yourself that question. What kind of movement does my body appreciate? So if that's pulling your knees in, pull your knees in. And if that's placing your feet on the ground, widening them a little bit and trying some windshield wipers, do some windshield wipers. I know my windshield likes being cleared off. As you're ready, bring your feet to the floor. So the soles of your feet down to the floor. So you're in constructive rest posture. Your knees are aimed up towards the ceiling. And take a peek at your knees. Make sure your thighs are pretty much parallel to each other. Extend your arms out alongside your body. And then tuck your tail a little bit. And then bring it back to neutral. And then arch your back a little. So you're moving your pelvis here. So you don't have to come into a big arch. You probably can't even see it in my body. But then tuck your tail again. Drop it down. And then it's almost like you're sticking your butt out. You're just tilting your pelvis a little bit. And try this a few times. You can go as slowly as you like. This tends to be a movement that some people find useful for low backs, just kind of isolating the pelvis and tilting it a little bit each way. And the next time you tuck your tail, maybe roll your spine up into a bridge posture. And once you're in bridge, notice, what does your body appreciate here? Do your hips want to be really high? Do they want to be lower? Where do your hips want to be? And you might check in with your feet and maybe check in with your big toe mounds, pinky toe mounds, and heels and see where is the weight in your feet. Is there a way to make it sort of equal between those 3 points? And if you do that, how does that feel? And then check in and see, is there anywhere that you're clenching? So maybe it's your jaw if you're like me. Maybe it's your forehead. Maybe you're kind of furrowing your brow, or your neck and shoulders maybe are tensing up. And you don't have to try to let that go, but sometimes when you notice, those areas may kind of just relax a little bit. They might not, and that's okay. But just see what's true for you. And when you're ready, you can roll back down out of bridge. Maybe at the end, you bring in that little pelvic tilt. So you kind of stick your butt out. So you maybe create a little space here below your low back. And then maybe you tuck your tail again. And take a moment to try out a couple of pelvic tilts at the bottom. Maybe you notice creaking and crunching. Maybe it's the floor. It is over here. And the next time you come into that little tucking of your tail, roll your spine back up. And this time, when you're at the top of bridge, you can do exactly what you did last time, checking in with your feet, checking in with your hips. You might also consider, what would it be like to transfer your weight mostly or all into your left leg? And you can keep your right foot on the ground, or you might try hovering it, Or you might try lifting that leg up to any degree and then bringing it down, transferring the weight over to the other side. Same thing. Maybe your left foot stays on the ground. Maybe it hovers. Maybe it lifts up. And you straighten that leg. And just take the next couple of moments to try out any of these options or anything else that your body is like, this is what I would appreciate right now. And when you're ready, you can roll your spine back down. Maybe try a couple of pelvic tilts at the bottom, just seeing how that works. And we're going to try one more bridge. So do anything that feels right to you between bridges. So maybe you try a couple of windshield wipers. Maybe you continue with the pelvic tilts. Maybe you pull your knees into your chest. And when you're ready, you can set yourself up for bridge. And this time you can do it just like we did it last time, or you might consider stepping your feet out a little bit wider than a normal bridge. And then when you're ready, rolling up. So if you're trying out the wide legged position here or wider legged position, just notice how that feels different if it feels different. If you're doing your regular bridge, you can try any of the things that we've done in the past couple of times or anything else that you like. And if you're in this wide legged position, you might consider bringing your left knee a little closer to center and then bringing it out. And then trying the same thing with your right knee. So just bringing your knees one at a time in towards the center and then back out to where it started a couple of times. And if you're doing that, just notice where you feel it. And notice, does your body feel like it's fighting it, or does it feel like, oh, that's interesting. This might be something I could appreciate. And make sure you're breathing as freely as possible here. And again, checking in and seeing, are there places that are clenching up that don't need to? And as you're ready, roll your spine slowly back down. Maybe add that pelvic tilt at the bottom, maybe going both ways a couple of times if you like. And as you're ready, you can pull your knees in towards your chest if that feels all right. Maybe rock from side to side a little bit. And as you're ready, make your way up to a seated position and grab your flexi band. Take your time getting there, but once you're seated, decide if you want to prop up your hips. So, placing a cushion or two, or some blocks, or a block under your hips to elevate them can sometimes give us a little bit of space when we're sitting like this with our legs out in front of us. So, take a moment to check in and see, like, do you have enough space in your back, or is it rounding a lot? If it's rounding a lot, really placing a couple of things under your bottom so you can boost yourself up can sometimes give you some freedom to sit in this position.
And once you're up there, take your band and place it around the bottoms of your feet, and then take the edges of the band in your hands. Stretch your legs out in front of you. You can have your feet flexed and gather up as much or as little of the band in each hand as you would like. Gathering up more of it is going to create more tension so that you have more resistance, and less will do the opposite. So, as you're ready, sit up tall and see what would it be like to extend your arms out, keeping your arms pretty close to your body. You have them out straight in front of you, and then bend at the elbows and tuck your elbows in close to your body. Pull them back as far as they feel like they want to come. And do this slowly, and then very slowly come back to the starting position. And try that as many times as you like. So these slow rows, notice where you feel this. You might feel it in your upper back, you might feel it in your shoulders, you might feel it in your core because your core has to keep you steady. You might check in with your shoulder blades and notice, can you feel your shoulder blades moving on your back? So as you pull your arms back, you might feel your shoulder blades coming closer together. And as you allow your arms to come forward and stretch out, you might feel your shoulder blades coming farther apart on your back. And notice if using this flexi band kind of causes your arms to wobble a little bit, that's pretty normal. That's really normal. And the more you do it, the more you will uh, get more control over the wobble. And so you get less wobble. So if this is something that you find useful, you might try it out a couple of times a week. uh, if your body appreciates it and you have the time and energy. Maybe try that one more time. And then keeping your flexi band in hand, you can loosen up the straps a little bit and cross the band over itself so that you switch hands with the ends that you have uh, in each hand. And then from here, I'm going to turn so you can really see what I'm doing. I think we did this the last time we were together. So as much or as little tension as you like. You might bring your hands to your hips. You might bring your hands to the floor beside you, whatever feels more stable for you. But from here, ground down, like anchor your left foot down. I'll mirror you. Anchor your left foot down and see about sliding your right leg out to the side and then slowly allowing it to come back to center. And do that a few times. And it might not go very far, depending on how much tension you have on your band. You might also, again, notice some wobbling as you're moving your leg back and forth. That's totally normal. Maybe do it like 4 or so times. And then switch to the other side. So really anchor down through the right. Slowly draw your left leg out to the side, and then let it slide slowly as you can back to the middle. Notice where you feel this. And again, maybe do about 4. And when you've finished up, you can take your band, set it aside, and come up to a tabletop position. And if being in tabletop, as always, if being in tabletop is not great for your wrists, a couple of options would be to use blocks under your hands so that you're sending a little more weight back into your lower body, which might alleviate some of the discomfort in your wrists. Or you can set your blocks up and rest your forearms on your blocks. So, however works best for you, get yourself set up in what is for you most comfortable tabletop you can find. And again, I sometimes will say this, but if your knees don't like being on the floor, you can place a cushion under your knees. And once you're in your tabletop, extend your right leg out to the side so that your left knee is down, your hands are down, and your left leg is extended out long, foot on the floor. From here, see what it's like to send your hips back towards your heel and then to lift them back up and move pretty slowly. But if you want to move more quickly, you can move more quickly. If you want to move super slowly, you can move super slowly. But I would say semi slowly, just so you can kind of notice really what you feel as you're moving like this. And you can continue moving like this with your hands on blocks or forearms on blocks. And if you would like to, you might consider coming up into a tall kneeling position so that your hands are not supported and trying it out without your hands on the ground, just to notice how that's different, if that feels useful. And if you're doing this, you might consider seeing what is it like to lean forward a little as you do it? What is it like to be a little more upright as you're doing this? And can you feel a stretch anywhere? Can you feel anything working as you're moving like this? And you might try kind of moving around a little because maybe you feel a stretch through that inner thigh or somewhere else. And how could you kind of lean into and out of that a little bit? So just take another minute to really explore what that feels like for you. Take your time finishing that up and then move on to the second side. So when you're ready, if your hands aren't down, you can place them down and pull your right leg in, extend your left leg out. Notice if it feels different on this side, and same thing. So start sending your hips back towards your heel and then lifting them up. And decide if you want to keep your arms down for support. Maybe you do for a while, maybe you do the whole time. As you're ready, you can stop that, bring your leg in, and make your way up to a standing position. Bring your strap with you as you go. And once you're in a standing position, you can lay the strap over your hands, bring your elbows in towards your sides. And again, using as much or as little tension as you like with your band. Keep your elbows tucked in tight at your sides. Grab your band and imagine it's a tray and you're the Hulk and you're breaking the tray. So you pull your hands out to the side. And as you do, your shoulders will rotate out externally. You might notice um, again, your shoulder blades on the back of your body. And maybe they come a little closer together as you pull your arms out to the side. Maybe your shoulder blades come a little further apart as you allow that band to retract to its original position. And just try that a few times and see, what does that feel like? So these movements are kind of working parts of your back that help to keep you upright. And whenever you're done, you can take your band, set it aside, come to the right side of your mat, and then hover your left leg. So you're hovering your left leg, and then step that out as far as you like. And as you do, lift your right leg and bring that in, keeping your balance. And then do the same thing in the opposite direction. So step your right leg out, shift your weight, lift your left leg. And see, it doesn't have to be a big step, it can be a small step. And it doesn't have to be a small step, it can be as big a step as you like. But try doing that a few times and see if you can keep your weight under control the whole time. You might try changing the size of the steps that you're taking. Oops. And you might try hopping if that feels okay to you. And if it doesn't, that's totally fine. Just make sure your mat is on a surface where it's not going to slide. Mark and everyone. So you're aiming to really keep your weight under control here. So as you're shifting from side to side, how can you make it so that you have control over your weight? And if you're trying these hops, make sure you're pausing at the end of the hop to make sure you're really controlling your weight. Maybe try that twice more on each side. And whenever that's complete, you might hike up your pants like me, or maybe your pants are fine. And just come into mountain pose. Notice how you're feeling now. Send all your weight into your right leg and try hovering your left foot. You might lift that knee up to any degree. And you can have a wall somewhere for balance. You might have a chair for balance where you can place your hand. But can you slowly open that leg out to the side? Maybe lift your arms. And again, ask yourself, does my body appreciate these movements? How can I adjust them to make sure that my body does? And then maybe you step your foot down out a little bit with your toes facing the short edge of your mat so that you're in this 1 foot straight to the long edge, 1 foot straight to the short edge. And then whatever you want to do with your arms, maybe you shift your weight into your um, leg that is aimed towards the short end of your mat and try lifting your back leg to any degree and then shifting your weight back. And maybe you try that a few times. Lifting, lowering, shifting your weight. And again, if you want to place your hand somewhere for balance, you can do that. So we're in this half moon setup here with our feet positioned like this. We're doing these half moon lifts with our back leg if you're choosing this option. And another option that you might try would be you have your feet set up in sort of a warrior two position. You might try widening your stance a little if you need to and coming into your warrior two position, opening through your chest, extending your arms out to the side. So you can be checking out any or all of these options. And when you're ready, you can come back to center and toe heel your feet together. We'll try that on the other side. So ground down through your left leg, hover your right leg, maybe lift that knee up, maybe open it out to the side. And at any point, if you find any of these things useful, enjoyable, that your body appreciates them, you can stop and practice. Maybe you practice this part. Maybe you practice hovering in front of you. It's up to you. But if you would like to step that leg down to the side, you can do that. And then maybe you try these half moon lifts. So shifting your weight into your right leg, lifting your left. This moving back and forth is a really great balance challenge. So we're really kind of working our abductors today, our outer hips quite a bit. And if you would like to try coming into your warrior two, you might set your feet up, scooch things around, and come into your warrior two. As you're ready, you can release whatever position you're in, toe heel your feet together. Come into mountain pose. And if it feels okay to close your eyes, go ahead and close your eyes and just notice how you're feeling. You might do a quick body scan. Maybe start with your toes and then moving through your feet to your heels, up to your ankles, up your calves, to your knees, through your thighs and hips, up through your torso, into your shoulders, down your arms, into your hands and fingers, back up through your arms, shoulders, your neck, and up into your head. And what is going on in your head? Maybe notice the quality of your thoughts. Is your mind being kind to you today? And then as you're ready, you can open your eyes if they're closed. Take your time coming down onto your mat. And roll yourself down onto your back. Take your time getting there. And once you're lying down, maybe you pull your knees in towards your chest, if that feels right to you. If you're doing that, you might try rotating your ankles a few times in both directions. And then when you're ready, drop your feet down to the ground, ground down to your left foot, flex your right foot, and bring your right ankle over your left knee. Gently press your right knee away from your body a little bit and see if you can feel anything in your outer hip. And you can stay there, or you might decide to lift your left leg up towards your body. Maybe you interlace your hands behind your left thigh or in front of that shin or knee. Whatever version of Suchirandrasana you're choosing here, check in with your right hip. Can you feel a stretch through your right hip? And if you can, how does that feel after all of the movements that we tried today? So we did quite a lot of outer hip work. And maybe your hip appreciates a stretch, or maybe it's like, what? Just make sure you're taking care of your hip and the rest of your body. Once you feel like that's complete, you can release that and switch sides. So if your leg is up, drop it down, bring both feet down, ground down through your right foot, flex your left foot, and bring that ankle over your right knee. Same thing, really check in through your hip with your hip throughout this process. So you're pressing your left knee gently away from your body. Maybe you lift that right knee up. Maybe you interlace your hands behind that right thigh or in front of that shin or knee. And you might notice, does this feel different on this side? If you'd like to find a little movement in the posture, you might rock gently from side to side. If that doesn't feel good, you could just be still. And maybe bring your attention to your breath. As you're here, you might be kind of in this condensed version of yourself, all kind of folded up. Can you breathe pretty freely, even as you're kind of compressing yourself here? Maybe try taking a few deep breaths, inhaling deeply and exhaling even more slowly. And then you can release that and take your time coming into a position that's going to be comfortable and restful for Shavasana. So maybe you stretch all your limbs out and just kind of let them flop out to the side, lying down on your back. Or if there's any other position that would feel more comfortable, more restful, you can take that position. You just have a couple of minutes. If you want to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. Let's see if you can just rest. And if your thoughts refuse to give you rest, you might just notice them, label them as thoughts, and see if you can allow them to float off until they come back again. Notice if you're getting lost in your thoughts. If you're following them around, can you let them go? Maybe start to deepen your breath a little bit. And if you're ready to come out of Shavasana, you can start finding little gentle movement, taking your time. When you're ready, if you want to open your eyes, if they're closed, go ahead and do that. And if you feel like transitioning into a different position, take your time doing that. And wherever you are, if you want to bring your hands into Anjali Mudra, you can. If you don't want to, that's totally cool too. See if you can take a moment to find a reason to appreciate yourself, to give yourself some thanks. And can you do it for something specific? And even if you feel like, I don't know, just choose something randomly and give yourself a little bit of appreciation. And then just a moment to appreciate the practice of yoga as an ancient Indian practice that was shared throughout the world so that everyone could benefit. And thank you for practicing with me today. And hot diggity, it's nice to be back.